your body with all the genitals and your personal areas very well defined and in very distinct lines. And then they add a software application to that to fuzz it out. But that data is still on that equipment, so do not let anybody tell you or convince you that your naked body is not stored in that tool, because it is. All they've done is add some.
How elected officials get played all the time by the bureaucrats, because the bureaucrats have a handle on the information. Every one of you who has been down there at the legislature and seen testimony on bills, you notice how they bring up the bureaucrats from the agencies to testify on things first. And then they wait till 3 o'clock in the morning for the citizens to be able to testify.
Security division, she was testing the system and not a real terrorist.
In this case, where they had a test and it was such a dismal failure, as I'm told, as I've heard, you've got a problem, especially with a firearm.
We are told the tests were conducted last weekend, and the agents who failed to detect the pistol were not even disciplined.
It's critically important that you do something, because if that person failed in a test environment, when the real thing comes along.
And allowed security to be taken over by the government. Anybody want to hazard a guess on that?
They have to pay for it.
What?
They have to pay for it.
Well, it's not just paying for it, it's potential liability. They were offloading liability from themselves. And now they're probably all close to bankruptcy as a result. This short-sighted
Power, and people recognize truth when they hear it, and I'm just impressed that this stuff does get out. I think it's phenomenal, and we're lucky. We still have human beings running the world.
This is my professor at the university, and I haven't found one of them who would defend the arguments made by the TSA regarding privacy. And I'm principally here concerning privacy because I believe that even though, as you rightly point out, the health concerns are sufficient to show the terrible injuriousness of these machines, I believe that the moral concerns are, if not equally relevant, equally damning of the designs of the TSA. I'd like to briefly share with you a summary of the argument against the TSA. So the TSA's argument is that citizens should sacrifice their privacy in order to secure their safety. That safety is ultimate and inviolable good, and that privacy is a contingent and dispensable good. What I think they fail to recognize is that people's privacy is a constituent aspect of their safety, and that when people lose their privacy, they lose control over their bodies and the view of their bodies by aliens and strangers. Aliens, by which I mean people who are not part of their family or people who are not part of their community, people who are not intimate fellows with them and deserve to have that intimate association with their bodies. And so I think that in robbing people of their privacy, they're doing great injury to the psychological welfare of the population, and moreover, as you rightly mentioned, the psychological welfare of the employees who are forced to some brutes and tyrants over the passengers on a daily basis. Thank you for your thoughts. Good luck.
Heather, and she told me that she'd invite the city council members down here and they have something better to do. So let's make sure they get the video from this and maybe get it 20 or 30 times or 130 times. The last session you were talking about the FDA and NIST. The FDA, as well as the Secretary or the Department of Agriculture, both run by heads of Monsanto, Mr. Vilsack and Mr. Taylor. So obviously they're a little biased about these reports, and that needs to be under scrutiny. Also, NIST took them several years to figure out what happened to Building 7. Most people don't know what Building 7 is from 9/11, and they told us that a 47-story skyscraper fell from office fires. So I think there goes their credibility. Also, and this is the point I have to make, there's no such thing as security, folks. It's an illusion, like the stock market. It's a total illusion. It is control. So we have a Homeland Control Department deciding how to control us more, maybe even using our social control number. And so this brings me to something that really worries me about the protests against the scanners and the groping and everything else, because we could very well be led down this totalitarian tiptoe to profiling, which El Al does in Israel. They don't like the scanners, but they're going to profile everybody. You're all a criminal until they tell you you're not. There are truth kiosks being used in prototypes in places like Halifax, Canada. We've got to go tell them your itinerary, who you are, where you're going. You know, tell them everything that you know you can't get get on that plane. There's CAPS 2 biometrics you can sign up for and skip all of this and get, iris scans and various biometrics. There's Real ID, which they've been behind on for years, which will replace your driver's license, designed by the way, guys that work for the KGB and East German Stasi with this government, and that is an internal passport. So there are some inherent dangers that as we win this battle, we're really playing right into the hands of all of these biometrics. And finally, if I can say this, we wouldn't need any of this if we weren't out of our minds, bombing people all around the world, torturing them. Resources. I once had the opportunity to interview General Tony McPeak, who ran the First Gulf War air campaign. He told me in 2004, we're creating terrorists faster than we can kill them. Thank you.
Dogs, much more efficient and effective than these machines. I was in Israel, went to Bethlehem, Jerusalem, all that. When you go through the airports there, it was the pat down and the dogs. Also in Greece.
That's coming up right next. Yeah.
Okay, and I had a question. I'm glad you're here. I was wondering also if they could show the effects of somebody before and after going through one of these body scanners. Do you happen to know if there would be any radioactive material left on somebody once you go through there? I took a family member recently for a nuclear body scan, and they injected them with some radioactive material, and then informed us that the person who just had that would be radioactive for 60 hours, and then anybody close to them would be getting radioactive effects such as that of the chest X-ray. So I was wondering if that was possible, if they could show some type of have great big signs that there's something about the dangers of that and the effects and such as
And even on the alternative radio stations out here, when they people talking about laws, they use legal and illegal. And I think that's the wrong terminology. When you use that language, you're falling into their game, because it's a legal system that was designed to go around the Constitution, and they established it with the Act of 1871. And there's a very big difference between lawful and legal, or unlawful and illegal. And I think as we move forward, any kind of pushback, we should use those terms instead of using legal and illegal, because you're in their system. That's what it wants.
Thank you.
And so for your secure check-in, and you were predetermined by a government entity. It doesn't say specifically what that government entity is, whether you are a normal passenger, a preferred passenger, or an elevated risk. So this is predetermined by the government before you go to travel, and there are 3 tunnels that you go down. And so they're checking, in these tunnels, they're checking for, explosives, and they're also checking your heart rate and your stares, may see if you're nervous. And so what they say that they're looking for, and this is a quote, they're looking for bad people rather than bad objects. And I think that that's a really scary precedent. So even if we are able to stop these, or when we're able to stop these, we have to be really cautious of the next steps that they're going to be taking.
I just want to raise a point that it might be possible to replace TSA at ABIA if it seems as if they're in violation of the bill that founded TSA. And that might be an option for us also.
Here in Austin, where the scan he didn't want to go through the bathroom, and it was 5 o'clock in the morning, and they arrested him. He didn't get the job. It's ruined his life completely. He's fighting desperately in the court system here. And the city of Austin, I may say, is basically in collusion with him. And I don't care if they hear me. Matter of fact, we get to go before the city council. I want him to come before the city council and tell his story. They have destroyed his life, the TSA, at Austin Airport. And
I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. He's screaming out the window. We should all be like that. When he left in his office and screaming at him and saying, I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. This is all part of a bigger picture. When we talked earlier about the Judeans getting people naked for humiliation, well, the Nazis did the same thing to the Jews. Women and children, not just men. They made them get naked. And that's a fact. So they say if you don't like it, just don't fly, right? Well, that's part of the bigger picture is they want it in grocery stores. What are we going to say then? That if you don't like it, just don't eat? I know I don't have to, y'all all know what's going on. Everybody in this room knows what's going on, obviously, or we wouldn't be here. So I'm just making these comments and not asking questions, I'm just kind of making statements to reiterate this kind of stuff. But that's where it's going. It's shopping malls and grocery stores and roving vans out on the streets where they just scan your body while you're walking down the street and jump out and say, oh, it's for your safety and security, right? Isn't that what they always say? It's always for your safety and security. Like the man that's coming to watch us over here, the 2 policemen, they keep coming by from time to time and look in here. It's all for our safety and security, right? And if you believe that, you know what they told the Jews? It's all for your safety and security. That's what they told them, period. They said, go to the camps, get naked, it's all for your safety and security. So we have to know where to draw the line in the sand because the government's not going to do it. I mean, these are real dog tags. I was really in the military. You don't believe me? Go join the military or work for the government and then see how you feel. Because I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was being patriotic and I was, oh man, I'm going to serve my country. Well, it's all a joke. And the people at the top levels, they really do worship the devil, man. Look at actions speak louder than words. You think we have all these TSA scanners and tasering for people who are asking questions? I mean, if we had regular police in here and regular city council right now, I couldn't be saying these things. They might be, I'm Jared Barger, and then they'd be like, get out of here. You can't do that. And we might not agree with Ryan Griffersey, but he has the right. That's, I may not agree with your right what you're saying, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it, even though I don't agree with everybody. Period. Even though some of those socialists out there in the Occupy movement, because this is what it's all about. So I'm just asking everybody, tell everybody, man, because my family won't talk anymore. I love them. I don't like them, but I love them to death. That's why I do it for them. But when people say you're crazy or you're nuts, just say, okay, present them with the facts and say, is that all you guys name calling? And just keep presenting them with the facts because they're all there. So I just want to say, give yourself a round of applause in hand because y'all are the ones that matter. Not the city council, not the police, not the military, not the politicians, the people. We the people. That's what this is all about. So please just keep coming to these things. I know y'all want to be here, and thank you and God bless.